Hey yo, what's going on? You sexy ass motherfuckers. It's me. I'm back at it again. And today we're going to be doing part 2 to What If Deku Was a Veteran. Now, first part of this series, it tanked. I mean, a lot. It hasn't reached even 1,000 views, I believe. But this doesn't mean that I'm not going to continue this series because I am having a good time thinking about how this series is going to go. And yeah, I have a clear point on where I'm gonna end it, and yeah, hopefully, you guys are enjoying the story so far, even though there's only been one part. But man, I got nothing else to say, so let's get right back into this motherfucker. Alright, so last time we left off to where Izuku just got at the gates of UA for the entrance exams. Now, we will be cutting off to that point, and yeah, as Izuku steps to the front of the gates, as he says, "We're finally here." it's uh, it's been a journey, hasn't it? As he looks forward and starts walking, as he gets towards the doors and he enters. He doesn't meet Uraraka just because he is very punctual. He has to be. It's part of one of his habits. He always has to be on time or before anything happens, before, he has to get there. When he enters the building, he finds the best spot. And by what I mean by the best spot is that he finds a spot where he can look at all the exits, all the entrances, see where people can get in and get out, where he can look at everyone, examine everyone, make sure that no one's doing anything out of the ordinary, just to make sure that if anything bad goes on, or if anything bad happens, he's able to stop it as soon as possible and as quickly as possible. So he sits at the best spot, and it's really nowhere. Not a lot of people notice him. He's very he keeps to himself, and he wants it like that just to make sure that no one, notices him because he is kind of well known just because of what his actions were in the military. He was one of the driving forces of winning the war. So a lot of people know about him, but then again, not a lot of people remember the name, right? They only remember the face. And, I'm going to say some people look like him, so he gets kind of mixed up. But, yes, so we cut off to the entrance of President Mike as he starts talking about all the examinations and all the tests that they're going to do. And they first have a pre-test of like to evaluate their knowledge and necessitate everything else that they need to do, and then they have the practical exam part. And he talks about the robots, as when it cuts to the Ida part, because he didn't mention the 0 pointer, Ida's bitch ass gets up and he starts berating President Mike because he didn't talk about the 0 pointer, which is kind of fucking dumb. And when Izuku hears this, he gets up and he says, "Young man," because he kind of has this sense of uh, superiority because that's how he was in the military. So he's gonna call him young man, even though they are about the same age. I believe Ida might be older, but he says young man. As Ida looks back to him and he says, "Who are you calling young man?" And Izuku says, "Oh, you stop. All right, this is very unnecessary. You don't need to be doing this. All right." He was probably gonna get to it in just a bit. All you have to do is sit down and listen. All right. Next time you do this, who knows? This is very unnecessary and you won't need this for practical use. It literally says it in the name. 0 pointer. You don't need to worry about it. And once you see it, it'll be pretty obvious, right? And if you read through the pan flip, you would have already recognized what it looks like and what it is. He doesn't need to explain it. Everyone else has their things that they have to do. It's basically a necessity. If you didn't read through the pan flip, then you aren't doing what you're supposed to do and you are doing what's expected of you. So you sit down, alright? Thank you. As Izuku sits down because he was kind of pissed off, right? He's never seen it like this, right? Because he's used to people following orders, following this and that, following what he says, following the expectations that they are given by him and everyone else that is above him. He doesn't like it when people step out of line. It's not what's needed. You don't need to step out of line. It's unnecessary. As when Ida gets talked down by Izuku, he gets embarrassed and he sits down as President Mike is like, "Whoa, this kid." he has some leadership skills. It's amazing. I've never seen a kid like him. As he says, thank you, contestant number so and so, right? As when the whole thing ends off, they do their first written exam and all this other stuff. When they get that out of the way, Izuku aces everything. He studies, he does everything that he's supposed to do. But he did go a little above and beyond, just because he can. He's already learned everything he basically needs to learn in high school. All he has to do is just go through this to become a hero. So we cut to the practical portion of the exam, as he is headed to, I believe, Zone B. I do not remember correctly, but yes, when he heads there, he notices the Ida kid, as when he's just calm in the front of everyone, basically like the leader of the pack. He's there. He's just standing idle. He's not doing anything. He's just examining where everything is. Getting a look of his surroundings. The usual for him. And Ida, being somehow a very uh, condescending asshole sometimes, he walks up towards Izuku and he says, "Hey, I kind of found it a little disrespectful that you called me a boy, even though we're the same age." As Izuku looks at him, he looks down actually because he is taller than Ida in this story. It's basically a necessity for him to be tall because it is more essential. And he says, "You don't like me calling boy? Then act like a fucking mature person. You don't need to be acting like the way you did just because you came from wherever you came from. It looks like you were well off in life, right? Don't act like that here. There's a clear difference between home and here. This is a place where heroes are made, where people have to mature, mellow out to make sure that they don't make bad decisions when they are in the most crucial of moments. Not home, where you can lazy around and do whatever you want. Alright? Okay then." As Ida just gets even more embarrassed that people around him are kind of like laughing, but Izuku says, "Why are you guys laughing? Who knows? You might be the same person I'm talking to as well. Silence your lips. There's no reason to be laughing and giggling amongst yourselves. Be more professional. This is what being a hero is. Making sure that you don't make wrong decisions and make dumb ones as well." As everyone's like, "Damn, he told us." And they shut up. And it's just silence. No one's talking, no one's saying anything until President Mike gets on the, obviously microphone. And he says, "Now the gates are opening in three." And as soon as the gates open just a little, Izuku's already dashing forward, bro. He doesn't care. He already dashed forward, and everyone else is like, "What the hell?" But they follow his lead because they sense this thing about him that they just have to follow him, right? And so that's what they do. And they start running too. And President Mike's like, "This kid, he's amazing." And every other teacher in the, viewing room, they're like, "Damn." As All Might as well is there too, obviously, as he says, "Hey, I remember that kid. What's his name?" As Aizawa says, his name is Izuku Midoriya. As everyone in the room's like, "Izuku Midoriya. Why does that name sound so familiar?" As Nezu says, "Oh, he was a hero of war, the man who led the daring mission of defeating the leader of the Akuma and the person who basically won the war for us." As everyone's like, that's him?" Now, the reason they're so surprised is because they didn't expect him to be 18 years old. The reason that they didn't know he was 18 years old is because a lot of information about him is redacted or erased off any surface or platform, right? That you can find information about him and that holds information about him. So the only thing they knew about him is the way he looked, which he did look similar, but they didn't make that connection. His name is, yeah, that name's pretty common, must say. And, that's it basically. What he did, where he served, what he, the accomplishments that he got, and that's it. They didn't know his age. They didn't know anything. They didn't know where he was from, too. As these teachers are so surprised that an 18-year-old is the hero of the Akuma War, the person who led the mission to win, right? Operation Zero. It's now known by the public. As they're baffled. They don't know what to say. Is they kind of in that room already treat him with respect, right? And now President Mike understands why he was so adamant, why his personality was so fierce and had so much, power in it, his voice, right? He had to command a lot of people. He couldn't be slacking off in the shit he did, you know? As Prison Mike says, so that was him. As everyone was like, what are you talking about? And he says, well, this kid, while we were doing the presentation of everything, and me introducing everything, some kid stood up and called me out for not mentioning the 0 pointer. But Izuku Midoriya, he got up and he told him why all the stuff that he did was unnecessary and that he needs to be more mature and do all this and that. And I was surprised, but now that I know that this is Izuku Midoriya, the Izuku Midoriya, I highly understand why he did that. He had to, command a lot of men under him, and he's probably seen a lot. As everyone holds a silence in the room, as we cut back to Izuku, who's demolishing robots left and right. He doesn't even have to use his other abilities like his Spartan Rage and his gravity manipulation. All he has to do is use his weapons, as he's creating weapons left and right. As he destroys a lot of 2 pointers, a lot of fucking 3 pointers. He has the most 3 pointers on his side. He destroys a couple of 1 pointers, but he's going for the big dogs first because that's how he's used to. Go for the ones who are the most dangerous first, because then you can deal with the ones that are weaker, and they'll be disoriented. That's his mentality right now. So he's going for all the 3 pointers and shit, and he goes for the 2 pointers, and he has like a couple of 1 pointers. So yes, and then out of nowhere, after like 5 or so minutes, he starts feeling a rumbling in the floor. He starts shaking a lot. It feels like an earthquake. As Izuku stops and he examines the area around him, he sees some kids running away. As he looks up, and he sees a giant ass robot. As he says, "Oh, so this is the 0 pointer then. I might as well take it out now. Make sure it doesn't hurt anyone." And then he hears a scream out of nowhere. As he goes towards the screen because he prioritizes saving a life before taking out the enemy, because that's what he's also used to. It's his habits. As he sees a girl trapped under rubble. As Izuku goes straight towards her, picks up the rubble, and he just tells her, go, go, go. It's not safe here. As she says, okay. As she starts walking away, as he notices that she's limping, she's not perfectly fine. As he's like, damn it. As he picks her up, runs her all the way over towards where people are, and he says, here, carry this girl to safety, or get her towards the nurse. As they're like, okay then, what are you gonna do? As Izuku's like, what am I gonna do? Don't worry about what I'm gonna do. Listen to what I'm telling you. Go take her to safety. As that's what they do. They ask no further questions. As Izuku's like, alright then. As he creates 2 swords. As he uses his gravity. As he kind of smashes down the robot. As the teachers in the viewing room and everyone in there as well. They're astonished. They're like, wait, he can control gravity? As that's their first, assumption. And then he says, but then he created weapons out of nowhere. And then All Might's like, does this kid have 2 quirks? How? There's no way. Unless. And then he says, all for one? But then he says, like, no, that couldn't be. Then why would he help in the war? As now he's getting second thoughts, about the man known as Izuku Midoriya. As he doesn't know what to think about him. Why does he have 2 quirks? As Nezu's thinking the same thing, that they're gonna ask him about that after the entrance exam is over. As when we cut back to Izuku, as he has both his swords out, as he increases the gravity on the robot more and more and more, and the gravity around him is also increasing. So some buildings are starting to collapse a little because of the pressure. As Izuku's like, damn it, I can't be causing collateral damage as much. As he uses Spartan Rage, and that's why he wanted more people to get out the way as well. Because as I said in the last video, he can't recognize who's his enemy and who's his ally. So that's why he didn't want anyone else getting in the way, because he might hurt them as well. As he gets ready, as his blood is boiling, as some red mist is coming off his body. Then he screams into the air with all his might, as he enlarges the weapons he has in his hands, as he jumps towards the robot, and he slashes in an X style, as the robot is completely demolished, as he falls down to the ground, lands perfectly fine, as the robot behind him just explodes. As everyone who is far away, just look into the robot, and they look at Izuku with amazement and admiration in their eyes. They don't know that this is also the hero too, so yeah, as they're just astonished, jaws dropped, and Nezu decides to finally call the practical portion of the entrance exam finished. He stops it as he says, "Okay, students, that is enough today. All right, you guys, we'll see how many points you accumulated, and we'll see if you passed and get admitted into UA. Thank you for your time, and we'll see you another day, hopefully." As everyone is leaving, people are talking about Izuku and like left and right, like they're whispering and shit. But Izuku no longer cares. As he goes towards the girl that got hurt. As he bends down and he says, "Are you okay?" As the nurse is coming around, recovery girl. She says, "Yeah, yeah, I'm fine." As he says, "All right then, bye." As the girl says, "Wait, I didn't get to thank you." As Izuku says, "I don't need your thanks. Just be glad you're safe." As he walks away, some people are like, "Damn, that's kind of cold, isn't it?" Like he saved her life. She just wanted to say thank you. But then some people are like, "Nah, nah, it's cool. Why does he need to thank him? It's just what a hero should do all the time, right?" As everyone's like, "Yeah, yeah, you're not wrong." So they like kind of admire him more because of that. As Izuku's walking home. As he has money. Like he has a lot of fucking money. As he finally moved into his own house, and he moved in with his best friend. As when he gets home, he says hi to Miyamoto, and he has his little dog there too because he got one. A little emotional support. As he starts playing around with his dog. As he says, "Miyamoto, I'm gonna go out with my parents. Is that okay with you? You don't need me for anything?" As he says, "No, no, no, it's completely fine. I'll be all right on my own for now. I'll call you if I need anything though." As Izuku says, "All right then, see you." As he says goodbye. Izuku leaves and he goes to meet up with his parents. So they have a day out together. They haven't had one in a while, ever since the 10-month training period. As the relationship between Izuku and his mother and father, it's kind of strange. They don't know how do I say this? They don't know how to talk to him right because of the things he's been through. They don't know what they can say and what they shouldn't say. You know, and it's kind of hard for them. And Izuku understands. He doesn't want them to talk to him like a new person because that's what they see him as, a new person who's been through a lot. All Izuku wants to have with his parents is a child and a parent relationship. You know, a son and father relationship, a son and mother relationship. He just wants it to be normal for at least just this once, for everything to feel like it went back to what it was before everything happened, before all this mess occurred. As Izuku says hi, and they hug him. They say hi, son. As they do a lot of things. They do a lot of activities together. But throughout this, it seems like his mother and father are just like very hesitant to say stuff. And Izuku notices this immediately because he's had to, notice people's way of moving around and their tendencies and the way they act, the way they put themselves on. As he always had to do it just to make sure that every single one of his men were doing well in his company. And that's what he's doing right now. He's checking on what his parents are doing, their tendencies, and they're acting kind of strange. They're being very hesitant in saying anything, making sure that they don't say anything wrong that hurt Izuku's feelings. As Izuku speaks up, as he says, "Mom, Dad, it's okay. You don't have to feel hesitant about not wanting to talk about what happened. You can talk to me about it if you really want to. If you want me to tell you what happened, I will tell you. It's okay. I've I've improved my emotional stability. It's better." As his parents are like, "No, but it's not. We don't know what to say. We don't know if we say the wrong things, how it'll make you feel." As Zuko's like, "All right then. Um, I'll get going now. All right." As his mom and dad feel bad, but they also have to say goodbye now. So they say, "Okay, son, we'll see you. We'll see you another time." As Zuko leaves, As when he starts getting in his car, you know, he just kind of sits there. As for a while, he just starts reminiscing about everything that's occurred, losing his first people in his company, you know, having to write letters back, the amount of heartache it caused him because of the relationships that were just taken away from him because of this useless war, because all the group wanted to do was hurt people and cause destruction and pain. As Izuku just lays there as he cries for a little. He doesn't want people seeing him like that, so that's why he does it in his car by himself. As he just reminisces about everything. As after he stops crying, he gets home, and a week passes. A letter from UA comes, and it's his acceptance letter. As they say he passed, as All Might, appears on the little disc thingy that they sent. As he says, "Hello there, young Midoriya. You know, you are welcome to UA. You passed with a high score of 422, surpassing even my record. And that was a lot. It was 386. But, you know, not to brag, You came in number one overall. And we would like to greatly and solemnly welcome you to UA. So, welcome Izuku Midoriya to Your Hero Academia. I don't know how that part went. I forgot. My fault. But Izuku, you know, shuts out the disc, destroys it, as he says, "That's one step to becoming a hero. Now I gotta wait a couple more years and we're ready to help more lives." As Izuku walks down, he says hi to Miyamoto and he says, "I got accepted." As his best friend is all happy for him, right? And his dog is jumping up and down. As he smiles, he calls his parents up and he's like, "Yeah, I got accepted to UA." As his parents are like, "Good job, son, congratulations." As he says, "Yeah, I have my first day tomorrow." As they're like, "Okay, then you want us to do anything for you?" He says, "A good meal would work out." As they're like, "Okay, then we'll make you a meal for tomorrow and you can take it to school." As he says, "Thank you, mom, thank you, dad." As he says goodbye, he hangs up and he's like, "Well, I guess tomorrow's the first day of adapting to civilian school, I believe." Because, becoming a hero is quite a normal dream now. It's the biggest thing that everyone wants to do. As, Miyamoto's like, "Yeah, just make sure you don't go overboard, okay?" As Zuko's like, "Yeah, I won't." As we cut to the next day, his parents drop off his meal. He says hi to Miyamoto and he says hi to his little dog. As he heads towards the school in his car, as he parks in the driveway, a place where he can park. And he gets out of the car and he starts walking towards the gate. As he knows that he's in class 1A. He gets towards the big ass door that's there. As he opens it and he's the first one there. Because like I said earlier, he is very punctual about everything. So when he gets there, he notices something's off. He doesn't see a teacher, but then he feels this sort of presence out of nowhere. As he looks behind the desk, as he sees someone's in a sleeping bag. As he says, "Hello there." As the person doesn't wake up, as Izuku kind of, kicks him. As the person finally nudges awake, and he says, "Huh? Oh, oh." As he sees that it's Izuku, and he says, and he gets up, gets out of his sleeping bag, and he's like, "Hey, hello there, Izuku Midori." As he says, "Hello there. Who are you?" As he says, "Oh, I'm your homeroom teacher, Shota Aizawa." As Izuku's like, "Oh, okay then. It's very nice to meet you then." As he says, "Very nice to meet you as well. Have a seat wherever you want." As Izuku's like, "Okay then." As he sits down in the back, making sure he, recognizes his surroundings. He looks around, sees all the exits and, entry points, making sure he can see everywhere from his point of view, his peripheral vision and shit like that. As Aizawa kind of notices this, but he says nothing about it. And after a while, other students start coming in and they kind of recognize Izuku because of the things he did, especially the ones that were at the entrance exam. Everyone else who wasn't there, they don't really know about him. As when he gets in there, you know, Izuku recognizes a familiar face, Bakugo Katsuki. As he says nothing, right? as Bakugo kind of recognizes him as well. As, he walks up to him and he says, um, "Hey, are you Izuku Midoriya?" As Izuku says, "Yes, I am. Are you Bakugo Katsuki?" As Bakugo says, "Oh, it is you." As the reason Bakugo isn't acting like a prick, he is a prick, but he's not an asshole to Izuku because they were great friends until he had to move. As he says, "Yeah, it's been a long time, Bakugo." As Bakugo says, like, "Hell yeah, how have you been?" As Izuku's like, "I've been I've been well, it's been really rough these past few years, but I've been getting there, getting back to my usual self. This Bucku's like, hey man, if you ever want to talk to me about anything, I'm here. Even though we haven't talked to each other in years, we're still good friends though, right? Zizuku says, yeah, yeah. Um, how have you been? As Bakugo says, I've been doing really well for myself. You know me, I'm always gonna be an asshole. As he does recognize his own flaws, and he just can't help it. As Izuku's like, yeah, that was always you to everyone else besides me. Well, hopefully, you do good. As Bakugo says, yeah, hopefully you do good too. As they both sit down in different seats. Some girls, they kind of looking at Izuku, but Izuku pays no mind to them. He doesn't care. It's himself first and everything else. As he's focusing on himself. As after everyone gets there, Aizawa, says, "Hi, I'm your homeroom teacher, Shota Aizawa." As he pulls out the vest and he says, "Please put these on, head out to the field. We're gonna be doing a quirk assessment test." As everyone's like, "Oh man," and Izuku immediately says, "Be quiet and listen to him. It's an order." As when everyone hears order, and Aizawa especially hears an order, he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Izuku. Did you mean to say that?" As Izuku's like, "Oh, sorry. It's out of habit. But you guys should really not complain. If he tells you to do something, do it, okay?" As everyone in the class nods and they're like, "Okay." Then as they all get up, they start going down towards the locker rooms. As they start changing, and when they get into the changing room, Izuku, he changes, and when he takes off his shirt and everything, they notice like a couple of scars and this big, huge scar that he has on his like side slash stomach. And some people are like, "Whoa, what what happened to him?" As Shoto notices this, and he's like, he touches his scar a little, but he wonders how Izuku got his because those seem severe, if not life-threatening. As Izuku notices all the stares, and he says, "What? Do you think I'm pretty or something?" As he kind of laughs a little, and everyone else is like, they kind of turn around, but some giggle. As he's like, "Good, I didn't think so." As he puts on his suit or whatever. I think it was like gym suit or whatever. As he does have a lot. He's built, all right. He's built. So Kirishima notices this, and he's like, "Hey man, I saw that your body's pretty built. So like, you mind telling me what you do?" As Izuku says, "Oh well, I only got this body because I did a lot of training, and especially during those 10 months, that's really all I could do. I didn't have to worry about other things." As Kirishima's like, "Oh, yeah, yeah. What'd you do? Like, uh, I don't know, cardio, calisthenics, bodybuilding, weight training and shit." And Izuku says, "Yeah, I did a little bit of calisthenics. I did weight training, stuff like that, cardio, the essentials, basically. But I went above and beyond, and I did a lot of other things, but I can't tell you about that right now because we're already here." As Kirishima says, "Oh shit, yeah, we are." Well, it was nice talking to you, man. As Izuku says, "Yeah, it was nice talking to you too." As all of class 1A starts gathering around, and they start introducing themselves to each other, and talking all amongst themselves until Aizawa comes up to the front of the class and he says, "All right then, now pay attention because I'm about to give you an important piece of information. All right, so the person who gets last is expelled. So yeah, that gives you an incentive to try your best, right?" As some people are starting to say, "What? That isn't fair. This is our first day. You can't just expel us like that." And before Aizawa could even speak, Izuku speaks up as he says, "It isn't fair? Nothing's fair in this world. People have the best life. People have the worst. I don't know what been going on in your life, but nothing in life is fair. So don't expect it to ever be fair. Alright? Is it fair to other people when their loved ones die? No, it's not. Is it fair when you lose your job, when you don't get as much money as you wish you could have? No, it's not. Don't expect everything to be fair. Also, did you not understand when you came to this school? It was never going to be fair to begin with. There's always trials and tribulations to everything. So keep that in mind. Because the next time, who knows? If you ever complain about fairness again, it might be your head rolling on the floor the next moment later. As everyone is just like, oh, damn, that's a lot. As I was like, holy shit, this kid has gone through something. I don't know what he's gone through, and I don't think I want to talk to him about it. As always says, thank you for speaking, Izuku. You can sit back now. As Izuku just calmly goes back, and as always says, as I was saying earlier before I was so rudely interrupted, the person who gets last is expelled. So this is obviously a way to try your best and give it all you have. First, we have the ball throw, and I will be giving it to Izuku Midoriya since he did get first place in the entrance exam. So Izuku, please come up. As Izuku comes up and he says, "Ball throw." All right. As as always says, what was your highest record of ball throw in high school? As Izuku says, high school. Oh, I didn't go to high school. Actually, I already finished school. I already have some of my college credits, so the only reason I'm here is to gain my license, and that's it. As I was like, you already finished high school and you have your college education already? As Izuku says, yes. As I was like, I'll talk to the principal about this, to figure things out since you don't really need to learn anything from here, correct? As Izuku says, yeah, I don't really need to learn anything extra, so, do you mind giving me the ball? As always says, oh, my fault, I forgot. As he hands the ball to Izuku, and Izuku says, if you don't mind, step back. This is I was like, okay then. As Izuku, kind of lightens the gravity on the ball and the area around him, so Aizawa kind of feels a little lighter. And then he rounds it up and he throws it with everything he fucking has. Like he forces his muscles to go as fucking hard and as strong as they can possibly become, and he launches that hoe and he gets a score of around 10,000 meters. As everyone else is just jaw dropped again. They just keep getting surprised and they start gaining more and more admiration for Izuku, of the things he does, of how mature he is, of how confident he is, of how he holds himself up. It's impressive, for only an 18-year-old kid to be like that. They've never seen anything like that in their life. As I was very impressed by Izuku, as he tells him, amazing throw, as he turns the tablet back, I believe, and it says 10,000 meters. Everyone is just more and more astonished. They don't know what to say. As all this shit goes on. Of course, Uraraka gets infinity, but as I was definitely gonna give the fucking thing to Izuku because that's her quirk. That's basically the best thing she gets in. And we also have the grip strength test. Izuku clears that. Flying numbers, he gets number one as well. The sandbox, he obviously he's done all of this basically. He gets number one in everything. He has to be number one, bro. Like, he's exceptional, right? He commanded a whole company. Of course he has to be exceptional. As the end of the whole thing, and they go down to the leaderboards. Number one is Izuku. Last place is obviously gonna be Mineta, but of course, as in canon, Aizawa only says this was a deceptional tactic to make you yourselves, push yourselves and shit. So I'm not actually going to expel anyone, but keep this in mind. I can expel you whenever I want. So keep yourselves in check, alright? As they all head out, they all get changed, they have all their shit, they start messing with each other, talking to each other, learning about each other. And Aizawa actually calls Izuku and he says, "Yeah, we're gonna talk about the principal, with your thing. You know how you said you already passed college and you're already done with it, so we really can't teach you anything. So I don't know if we should already give you the test for the licensing exams, or I don't know. So we can go talk about the principal with that." Izuku says, yeah, I'll be glad to do that. I'll talk to the principal about my situation." As always says, "Okay, then we can go there right now." As he calls his class, as he says, "Class is dismissed for today. You guys can go home. Make sure to come around the same time as tomorrow because we have a special thing planned out. Other than that, goodbye." As everyone says, "Oh, cool. We don't have to deal with class." As yeah, and they all leave. As Aizawa takes Izuku to the principal's office, right? And he gets in there, and Aizawa leaves. As Nezu actually takes this opportunity to talk about him with his multiple quirks. As Izuku first talks about how his situation is kind of different from everyone else. He already passed college, as Nezu says, "Well, if you want, you can still stay here in the school, learn about everything again, or you can just come on certain days that you're required to come into." Izuku says, alright, then I couldn't care less. I'll just come on whenever I want to. Is that okay with you?" As Nezu says, "No, that's completely fine." As Izuku says, "Okay, then are we done here?" As Nezu says, "No, please wait a moment." As he calls All Might in, as All Might comes into the room, as he says, "Oh, hello there, young Midoriya." As Izuku says, "Hello there, All Might. Why are you here?" As All Might says, "Well, it was Principal Nezu who called me. He said he wanted to discuss something with you and with me as well." As Nezu said, "Alright, All Might, please sit down." As he does that, as they start discussing over the topic of Izuku's approximately 3 quirks that they know of, which is the right amount that he has. But they aren't quirks, they're actually powers. As Izuku, is kind of shocked that they figured it out so quickly. As, they're talking about this as they're saying, "How did you get these 3 quirks?" As Izuku says, "Well, actually, they aren't 3 quirks, they're more powers and quirks. So, yeah, they're stronger as well." As they're kind of confused by this, as they say, "So, what are your powers then?" As Zuko says, "Well, I can control gravity. I can create weapons out of thin air from an unknown substance, and I can also perform something known as Spartan Rage, which enhances my physical capabilities and can give me regenerative properties. The only downside is when I activate it, I have to make sure that I have none of my allies near me because I can't discern from enemies and allies. So if I ever do go into it, just remember that you got to get as far away from me as possible because when I'm in that state, I can only control myself to not kill. And since I am going to become a hero, I can't even kill anymore. So yes, as they're kind of scared by this, an ability that can't be controlled. It can't help you discern right from wrong, enemies from allies. That's a little scary for them. As Nezu then asks another question: "How do you have 3 abilities? You should only have one, right?" Shizuku then goes into the whole backstory of him being part of a royal lineage and how there's other people part of royal lineages as well. He doesn't know how many, but the leader of the Akuma organization was actually part of a lineage, Persian, as he had to fight him too, and that's how he got this nasty scar as he lifts up his shirt, with a scar there, but it's mostly healed up, as, All Might's like, wow, he has a scar as well, as, he kind of touches his stomach and near his scar, or his injury, I should say. It's not really a scar, as, he's kind of reminiscent of how he got it as well. Suzuku notices this as he mentions nothing of it though. As Nezu says, "Okay then, Izuku, you're free to leave." As Izuku says, "Alright then, sorry for taking up your time." As Nezu says, "No, no, 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 no. You didn't take up our time. Thank you. We actually wanted to know this information to, put it into our records and stuff." Izuku says, "Oh, okay then. Bye. Have a great day. Until I see you tomorrow, I believe." As both Nezu and All Might say, hopefully you have a great day too, Izuku Midoriya. And Yes, we hope to see you tomorrow as well. As they leave, as Izuku heads home, and when he gets home, he says hi to Miyamoto and then he pets his dog, kind of like the usual. As Miyamoto says, how'd it go today, Izuku? As Izuku says, it went well. It was better than I expected. I did let my tendencies get in the way a little, but other than that, it was pretty good. I made a couple new friends, you could say. I also met a really good friend I had back in the day. As Miyamoto's like, oh, who was he? As Izuku says, oh, his name's Bakugo Katsuki. Me and him go way back. As Miyamoto's like, oh, well, that's good. At least you're somewhat adjusting to civilian life. As Izuku says, yeah, how are you going at your job? As Miyamoto says, I don't know. It's a little bit of a hassle, but we're getting there. I mean, we don't really have to worry about money and anything. We just want to get back to civilian life. As Izuku says, yeah, I get what you mean, but I don't know, man. I can't, I can't live this normal life. I have to do at least something to save lives. As Miyamoto says. Yeah, I understand, you joined the military to do just that, so I can see where you get your passion and drive from. As Izuku says, yeah, I'm gonna clock in for the day. I'm a little tired. As Miyamoto says, alright then, see you, good night. As Izuku says, good night to you too. But then we come back to UA. As Nezu has called in every teacher and everyone in the school that has a high profile and high stance and status in school. As they're talking about Izuku Midori and if he could pose a threat to UA and possibly the world. As they're starting to talk about this, but they keep this kind of under wraps. They definitely do keep it under wraps. As they're discussing on what they should do with him, if they should still let him be in their school, but they now know that he is the hero of the war, so they don't even know how to feel about that. They don't know if he's desensitized to killing. They believe so, but they don't know for certain. And there's a lot of factors that are going into this, and deciding what they're gonna do with him. But they decide to postpone this until another day, and that's all that happens. We cut to the next day as Izuku wakes up and he walks to school, says bye to Miyamoto, and says bye to his little dog. As he gets into his car and he drives to school. When he gets there, he gets to class, the same usual happens. Until we cut towards the hero practicing class, I believe. And when All Might enters the room, when All Might enters the room, though, he kind of looks at Izuku a little funny, a little serious, right? Doesn't know what to think about him still, but he does hold him in high regard. As when everyone gets done geeking out over All Might being in their class and, being their teacher, right? The number one hero. All Might starts getting into his practicing mode, quote unquote practicing mode. He sucks at being the teacher at this point in time, so yeah. But, he starts talking about this and he says, go put on your hero costumes because today we're going to be doing heroes versus villains. And that is where I'm going to be ending off part 2. What if Deku was a veteran? Yes, this one wasn't as, I guess, emotional or a roller coaster as the last part, but trust me, we are going to be getting there soon. But hopefully you enjoyed this. Tell me what you liked about it in the comment section below. Like the video if you haven't already subscribed. But other than that, I'm going to catch y'all sexy ass motherfuckers later.